Yeah, of course.
Okay, we are recording. Hi Meg. I know obviously we've spoken a little bit before this. Everyone knows that everyone does that, so I'm not going to pretend that we don't. But thank you so much for coming on. I know we've tried to schedule this a few times, so I'm really excited, and I know that a lot of my followers are really excited because you and I are both very woo-woo, if you like, and a lot of my followers are really into it, and I just feel like you do such an amazing job of fusing that whole like higher self and spirituality into such a modern day problem of amenorrhea. So yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much. And I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. And I know we tried to schedule this several times over the course of many months, but I really do believe that, everything happens for a reason, obviously. But that is also a really overused term too. But I just feel like everything comes together at the divine timing that it's supposed to happen.
Definitely,
So
100%. And I've just launched my podcast as well. So when you say about divine timing, 100%, because originally this was just going to sit on my YouTube channel, whereas now it's going to go onto the podcast as well. So yeah, talk about
right
divine
on.
timing. So, um,
Right on.
so first of all, can you just do a little bit of an introduction about like who you are and what sort of coaching that you offer?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Meg Dahl, and I am a certified spiritual coach. I actually started off being a holistic nutritionist. So I went to school, studied dietetics. I was so sure that I was going to be a registered dietitian, but the interesting thing was like I was cruising through university with all my friends also going through the exact same program, and everyone was like planning on working in hospitals or long-term care homes, that sort of thing. And it was always in my mind that I would have my own practice. Like that was just kind of always the plan. And then by the end of university, I just realized that, hey, a lot of what I'm learning right now is not aligned with what I really believe. And I'm the type of person that, like, if I'm going to give someone advice, I have to be doing it for myself too, right? Like, I'm not just going to suggest things to someone and then doing the complete opposite myself. So for an example, when I was going through university studying dietetics, we were focusing on a lot of the food recommendations that I don't really typically agree with, such as choosing like low fat cheese, for an example, instead of just regular normal cheese, right? And so here I was eating breakfast, like whole eggs, not just egg whites, frying my eggs in ghee, so I was eating real whole foods, and just what I was learning in university really wasn't aligned with what I believed. So I chose not to pursue dietetics any further. I didn't become an RD, but instead I chose to study holistic nutrition, which I too really wanted to also change my relationship with food in a way. At that time, I was struggling with orthorexia, and I saw this program, this holistic nutrition program, and I really could see how it was more like a root cause approach. And I thought maybe if I studied food in this different way, I could also start seeing it in a different way, rather than like calories and macros. I could kind of see that, okay, this coconut oil could help my brain health and my hormone health, right? I could see it in a different way. And so I thought that was pretty cool. So I started studying holistic nutrition. I graduated as a registered holistic nutritionist and opened up my own practice, just like I always planned. And because I struggled with eating disorders since I was like 10 years old. It was just, I struggled with an eating disorder, recovered, relapsed, recovered, and then was struggling with this orthorexia, and I eventually recovered from that. But because of my really like close history with eating disorders, and it's just something, when you go through that, it's so easy to talk about it for a lot of us because we know it so well. So I was naturally working with clients that were going through eating disorder recovery as their nutritionist, which was really great. I love doing that. But as you and I both know, it's really not about the food, right? And we were always, I've always been talking about self-love, like before, it was kind of cool to talk about self-love in a way. And I know you feel the same, right? So I was talking about self-love and really teaching my clients these kind of foundational steps that I took to get to where I am today. And so even though I was a nutritionist helping my clients with food, I found that we weren't always talking about food anyways. We were more talking about the inner world stuff, right? We were talking about their relationship to food, their relationship to their thoughts, their relationship to their emotions, their relationship to their body, and really doing a lot of that inner healing work naturally. This work just always came so naturally to me. And in 2018, I came across a program, a certified spiritual coaching program to become certified. And I just thought, okay, I've been kind of doing this naturally myself for the past like 4 years, right? And I just thought it would be cool to dive deeper into my own healing so I could help my clients even more. So that's exactly what I did. And so, yeah, it's, the certification is called a certified spiritual coach. But I always find when we say like a spiritual coach, not a lot of people really understand exactly what that is. But I feel like with your audience and everyone who's listening to this podcast or this interview, we have like a good understanding of what it means to be spiritual. And for me, that really does mean helping my clients heal through their own self-compassion, their own self-forgiveness, and their own self-acceptance. So basically their own loving. That's what I'm all about.
I love that so much. So can we talk a bit about, I completely agree with you in terms of what spirituality means for me. I believe that there is a greater being than what we are on earth, if you like, and for those of you that are still with us and keen to go in a bit more, I believe that we are physical beings that are here to learn lessons and to then be able to evolve. And how I also believe about like the karmic lessons and things like that, and how our past can lead us to these sorts of positions. I actually had a spiritual reading, and they said to me that it was incredible. They said to me that you've had some form of addiction in your life, and I was like, and they said your guides and your angels want you to know that that the reason why you went down the route that you did is to save you from going down the opposite route. And they said, this isn't drugs and alcohol, they've saved you from that, haven't they? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, do you want to talk about it? And I was like, oh, I had like orthorexia or like fitness addiction, like dieting addiction. And they were just like, that's the one. Yeah, they're telling me, yeah, that's it. They saved you from going down the drugs and alcohol route. And I was like, wow, okay. And I was able to look at the whole recovery thing as completely different, because I don't know about you, but I often felt like, why me? Why is all of this? So could you go into a little bit of detail about, with the people that you coach, the connection between spirituality and our higher self, and our true inner self, and that those links with amenorrhea, and how people can maybe heal using spirituality with their food. How can people heal their relationship with their food and amenorrhea and that kind of thing with spirituality?
Yeah, absolutely. And what an incredible experience
Mhm.
that you had. Oh my gosh, I love hearing stories like that. And I'm all about connecting with our spirit guides. Okay, so spirituality and like how I work it into, I mean, there's so many different ways how that comes into play when I support my clients. But if we want to kind of touch on the major players, like I said, it really does come down to that self-compassion, that self-forgiveness, self-acceptance. Those are kind of three of my five main pillars when I help my clients. So I kind of call them the five selves. So there's self-awareness, and that's really where we change that relationship or learn how to navigate our thoughts and emotions in a different way. And then there's also self-care, where we go far deeper than the pedicures, the manicures, the spa days, the bubble baths, and we get really clear on like the foundational basics. So nourishment, moving our bodies, sleep, the environment that we surround ourselves with, the people that we surround ourselves with, and also boundaries. I love talking about boundaries and how they relate to self-care. But if we go to the middle three pillars, self-compassion, self-forgiveness, and self-acceptance, that's really how I coach and guide my clients to really create this change within their life in a spiritual way. So again, being spiritual, believing that there is this higher power, absolutely, and connecting with spirit and our guides, 100%. I teach my clients that too. For amenorrhea specifically, it was the self-compassion, self-forgiveness, and self-acceptance all within myself. So that helped me overcome that part of my journey, right? And that's what I really love about the work that I do. I think there's, if you go on Instagram, I mean, depending on who you follow, but if you are, like us, who we are spiritual and we love learning about spirit guides and maybe manifestation and like things like that, right? You'll probably hop on Instagram and see posts about connecting with your higher self, and it's always about like getting higher, right? Connecting with higher, being high vibe, that sort of thing. And what I do in my coaching is I really help women become deeper within themselves, because I think that a lot of like the healing that we need to do requires us to go deeper within ourselves. And that's what I love about the journey that I support my clients through, is it really isn't anything outside of ourselves that we need to connect with. It's all within us. We have the self-compassion within us already. We have self-forgiveness within us already. We just need to allow ourselves to actually do that. And it can be uncomfortable work sometimes, 100%. But that is the work that truly changed my life and put those years of eating disorders to complete rest for me. And then self-acceptance, I'm sure you're familiar with like shadow work, or what they call shadow work. And really, I believe that's what self-acceptance is. It's accepting those parts of yourself that you've been pushing away or keeping hidden from your conscious self, right?
Yeah, for those that don't know about shadow self and higher self and that sort of thing, can you just give us a bit of a breakdown about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I was saying, so I call it self-acceptance, because that's exactly what it is. But you'll probably hear about shadow work or the shadow self, right? And really it is that part of us that we are keeping hidden, that we don't really want to face directly, right? We don't want to look at it in the eyes, and we kind of are having a hard time embracing those parts of ourselves. And I think that's a huge aspect of recovering from hypothalamic amenorrhea. I think that's huge, is accepting all of these parts of ourselves. I know a big part of my journey, and I'm sure you can think of at least one time in your life where you felt this way too, but there was a time in my teenage years where I was just like really unhappy with who I was. Okay. And in order for me to get to where I am today and heal the relationship I have with my body, with food, and also get my period back and feel so unbelievably happy with where I am at in my body, I had to accept that past version of myself. So a lot of the work that I do, I'm more concerned with my clients healing those relationships with their inner world, with their past self, than really like connecting with the higher self, right? Because I really do believe that a lot of the times we think we need to go higher, but we actually need to like go deeper within ourselves.
Oh, I love that. That's actually really, really resonated with me. Yeah, of like just that reminder that as much as I feel like I have come a long, long way since any of those thoughts, I agree with you in the sense that actually a whole part of that journey was accepting that that part of me happened, and
Yeah.
then to rewrite that story. So with people that maybe come to you that have a bad relationship with food or amenorrhea, what are those shadow self, what are you finding that's very common that actually people need to kind of accept and become aware with? Is it kind of like the feeling of not good enough, or is there any trends that you see?
Absolutely. Yeah. So some common like misunderstandings or old beliefs that we're still holding on to and wanting to let go, a lot of them have to do with enoughness, right? I'm not enough. That is such a common trend for sure that I see that come up. And worthiness, deserving, right? Those are all really common ones that come up. But when we specifically talk about the shadow self, I think there's always kind of like, and especially with amenorrhea recovery too, there's an aspect of our bodies that we're not willing to accept because we're always trying to kind of manipulate our body or like try to make our body look a certain way or stay a certain size, right? But as soon as we can accept a different version of ourselves, and that version of ourselves might have already happened, and now we're trying to prevent it from happening again, you see. But as soon as we actually accept that part of ourselves, everything changes. So I really challenge my clients to find that aspect of themselves that they are resisting. And we all have one. We all have one. And that's the type of work that is really transformational.
And when you say finding that aspect, could that potentially be maybe an aspect of where, I don't know, a time where they would eat uncontrollably, or what they felt was uncontrollably, or it might be the fact that actually naturally they have a bigger appetite or ate more, or are those the sorts of things that so people are constantly fighting about the fact. Personally, for me, I constantly fought my appetite, and I still have a tendency to do it, and I have to really check in with myself of being like, just eat the food for Christ's sake. And so are those the sorts of things that you're thinking of, like actually those are the things we need to face?
Absolutely. That's a perfect example. And with you, giving that really great example, because I feel like a lot of people will resonate with that, because I know both you and I'm sure we get messages all the time about hunger. Why am I so hungry? Right? Like, what do I do? And to me, that's an opportunity to look at our relationship to hunger, right? So, okay, so if we're hungry and we're always getting anxious when we're hungry, why is that happening? Right? Like, why? Like, let's go deeper into that relationship. Why do we always get anxious when we're hungry? What belief do we have around hunger? That's really where we get to see our belief system and kind of look at that. And what I believe to be true about, so two people that get anxious whenever they're hungry, their beliefs around hunger will probably be different because of their life experiences. But as soon as we know why that anxiety comes up every single time they're hungry, we can really bring awareness to that. And just being aware of those old, outdated beliefs and stories can be freeing in itself. I know I've released a lot of beliefs. I've done a lot of reprogramming of my own belief system simply through just self-awareness, just awareness of that, because a lot of us are carrying these beliefs and we don't even realize it. So going back to your example about hunger, right? So every time you feel hungry, it's like, oh my gosh, like you kind of get anxious and, you're having all these like buzzing thoughts. Why am I so hungry? Do I really need to eat again? That sort of thing. But so that happens. But how often do we actually just allow ourselves to sit there and actually ask ourselves, okay, what is it that I actually believe about hunger? Right? And that allows us to get clear on these outdated beliefs that we might be holding on to. We likely are holding on to. And like I said, self-awareness can absolutely free us from a lot of those beliefs. It has done that for me. But there's opportunities to go even deeper. And I brought this up before, but that's where like the self-compassion, self-forgiveness comes in and can really help us go deeper into those old stories.
I love that. Yeah. So we've gone, okay, let's hypothetically, let's go with the hunger, for example. And we've gone even deeper and we've really dug and we've kind of maybe worked out there's a few reasons, maybe like experiences of what we had grown up. We've worked out those reasons. What next can people do? Is it just a sense of realizing it and trying to release it, or rather than steps that are like, okay, now we've made aware of it, now we can do this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm sure you've heard of inner child healing before. So, like I said, so we bring awareness, and a lot of the times I see with my clients and myself, like I said, I have had, like, I had such a deeply rooted belief around me and food. And it was literally like the start of my eating disorder. And I thought, like, okay, I've been dealing with eating disorders since this day, like, this age. So I will probably have to do a lot of work around this belief, right? I kid you not, I brought awareness around to that. And because it was so outdated, it was just such a huge transformation for me. And that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of the times we don't even realize we're holding on to these beliefs. And when we're able to really pinpoint down the actual belief that we're holding on to, it can be extremely transformational.
Yeah.
But okay, so let's go deeper though. So there's opportunities for inner child healing. So we have had this experience in the past that has allowed us to create this belief around hunger, for our example, right? And now we actually have the opportunity to reparent this part of ourselves, right? So whatever the situation was that played out, that caused you to have this misunderstanding or this belief around hunger, right? We can actually go back into those moments in our life and reparent ourselves. We can offer ourselves what we didn't have, or what we weren't offered, what we weren't given, what we didn't receive in the past when we needed it most,
Mm,
right?
yeah. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
so nice. And I've just had, even just chatting to you now, I've put it out there. I think I'm gonna have to work with you, because I'm having big epiphanies of just sitting here now, of like, there's certain memories that I think, for example, I must have been about 15, and I was at my boyfriend's house and we were ordering a takeaway, and it was Burger King, I think, and I said, oh, can I have a double bacon and cheeseburger? And they're actually really tiny if you see them, I'm just saying, but the double is the double burger. And his one of his family members, as a complete as a joke, but just went, bloody hell, really? And that I just remember thinking, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I shouldn't have. Like, honestly, it's fine, don't worry, don't worry. And they were obviously like, oh, like they were only joking, and no way would they have meant anything by it. But it was, I've carried that with me, of just like, okay, so having a bigger appetite will draw attention to you. Having a bigger appetite is greedy potentially, and you don't need it. And already just sat here, I'm already thinking all of these
Yeah.
things, and I'm like, oh my god, Meg, we have to go deeper just on myself. Stuff these lot.
I would love that so much. It would be such a dream, but that's what I'm all about, right? And yeah, like I said, like it's so cool that you just had that experience. And yeah, there's like, if you didn't even take the time to realize that, right? You could be just continuing to carry that belief with
Yeah,
you
and I think that's what
forward.
a lot of, I say us because we've all been through it, right? Of like, that's what we've all kind of done. We're still telling stories. I remember straight, like the first day that I went onto a diet. Like, I remember the reasons behind it. I remember, do you know what I mean? And I think, as much as I'm aware of those, I don't think I've necessarily worked through them. And I think,
Yes.
especially when now in my, I 100% have things that I need to deal with still. I think a lot of people, are we ever really
We
true
all do,
healed? Yeah.
right? Like, yeah,
And I
100%.
think,
Like, yeah,
you go.
you go, you go.
I was just going to say that like a lot of people that follow us and are part of like our community, if you like, we've got to that stage that we're like, do you know what, these action, that our behavior now isn't working for us, like we're
Yes.
ready to heal. So a lot of us are probably very aware that we have some form of issue, but do we know what those underlying are, and then do we know how to work through it? So you mentioned about inner child, and we can do work deeper. I've done some inner child work before. I had like this amazing meditation where I ended up going down onto like a beach of some sort, and I walked over and it was like a 4-year-old me. I've got like a little French blonde, and I just hugged,
Yeah.
and we just hugged, and it was so, it sounds so woo woo, and so like, if people aren't into it, they're probably thinking, what, you're weird, but it's not. It's the most loving thing ever. It felt like I was hugging my own child, and I don't have kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So apart from
Extremely transformational.
yeah, so apart from inner child work and going that little bit deeper, is there anything else that people can do just at home or naturally that people can do to try to like work through these sort of beliefs?
Oh yeah, definitely. I just love that you shared all that though too. Inner child healing. And I'll just say this, the tools that I talk about, self-awareness, and yeah, it sounds like, oh yeah, I know I'm not happy with my relationship with food, or I know I'm not where I want to be. Okay, people think that's self-awareness, but self-awareness is bringing awareness to those old beliefs that you're still carrying, right? And that takes more effort than just knowing that you're not really happy where you want to be, right? But one thing that I love hearing from my clients over and over again, once we wrap up our coaching together, they always tell me that, okay, so everything you've taught me within our coaching sessions, what, like your tasks, your homework assignments for me, like they are very simple, right? Because everything I'm teaching you is within you. It's not like I'm giving you a laundry list of supplements that you have to go buy and take these supplements. Like that's kind of what we expect nowadays though, right? Like when you work with a nutritionist or a naturopath, right? We're looking for this big protocol,
Yeah.
right? But so here I am talking about self-awareness, inner child healing, self-compassion, self-forgiveness, self-acceptance work. And yeah, I get it. It sounds kind of like, okay, but what else, right? But like, what if we just did this work
Yes.
and see how much healing we get from it, right? So the next thing, like, so I do guide my clients through a lot of different inner child healing practices. It's obviously different for absolutely everyone who comes into my practice and we coach together. But self-forgiveness, I want to make sure we talk about self-forgiveness today because prior to doing that certified spiritual coaching, I was doing all of this. I was doing the self-awareness work. I was doing the self-compassion, the inner child healing, self-acceptance, self-care, right? I had a whole course built out on all of those pillars. But I really wasn't introduced to self-forgiveness work until I became a certified spiritual coach. And I truly do believe that it kind of completed my whole framework for supporting my clients because self-forgiveness, so when we talk about forgiving ourselves, okay, it's kind of interesting. I really never held a grudge towards myself regarding like having an eating disorder, right? I never judged myself for it. I was 10 years old when I had my first eating disorder. And I remember like being really confused about it. Obviously, I was 10, right? I didn't really understand. But my parents were always really amazing and communicated to me that it was an illness, just like any other illness, right? Like I didn't choose this. It was an illness because it's a mental illness, right? We don't choose eating disorders. And so I never ever felt like I had to forgive myself for having an eating disorder. But when I actually learned what self forgiveness actually was, everything changed. So if you're listening to this today thinking that, like, oh, Meg, I don't need to forgive myself for anything because I'm like not holding a grudge or judging myself, that's not really what self forgiveness is. If I share with you that self forgiveness is actually going back to those places in our life and placing loving where we didn't place loving before, where we kind of turned away from ourselves, that's what self-forgiveness is. So I kind of imagine that we all have these life events, and some life events lead us to kind of like turning away from ourselves and not provide ourselves with the loving that we needed in that moment. And that's what self-forgiveness is. It really gives us that opportunity to go back and place that loving where we needed it back then. And that's why I really do believe that it is so incredibly important for recovery from eating disorders, HA, anything like that.
Definitely. And have you found that a lot of people with HA have that type A, go, 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 put a lot of pressure on themselves to achieve that sort of like personality? Do you see that a lot in your clients?
Oh yeah, definitely. I personally, like, I'm not sure if you identify as this, but I never felt like I was the type A type of person, but I was definitely always kind of like go, 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 never sit down, doing all this stuff, right? But that's because I had like a really weird relationship with rest. And again, it was because of these old beliefs that I once had, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I can, yeah, totally get you of, lazy on the sofa. Kids are the ones that sit on the sofa, adults are the ones rushing around. So
Yeah.
get older.
Old beliefs.
Yeah. 100%. I think I've definitely as well glorified the busyness. So, and I think we are still in a society that we do, aren't we? And it's that whole, I've done more steps, I've eaten less calories, I've done this, I've done that. And it was like that whole competition thing for me, that if I remember being across the table and I looked at everyone and I worked out that I was eating the least calories on everyone on the table, and I sat there smug as hell and ordered another Diet Coke while they all chose to have like a gin and tonic or a cocktail or something. And in me, there was this huge thing in me that was just so, it was, I guess, my ego that was just like fully smug, because I was sat there like, ha, I've eaten less than you, I'm better than you, I guess, is what that kind of like belief, I guess, was. So yeah, it's just really resonating so much about actually having to, like dive real deep and then go hug yourself, sort of like forgive yourself for all of those times. And do you really feel that once we've done the awareness, the forgiveness, and compassion, right? Are those
Yeah.
there?
Yeah. So we start with, and this is how I kind of like move through it. We start with the self-awareness, and it also includes, you just gave another beautiful example of sitting at the table and you were like, I think that was my ego, right? All of us, we have these thoughts occurring within our minds on a moment to moment basis. But how often are you actually aware of all those thoughts?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what I help you with as well, where we create this awareness, like this kind of higher level awareness around our thoughts and our emotions, rather than just thinking things and feeling things. There's a huge difference. Okay. And then we move into the self-compassion, which includes the inner child healing. We move into self-forgiveness, which includes us placing that loving where we didn't have it before, and really like just kind of like unshackling ourselves from those old beliefs that we've been holding on to. And then self-acceptance, which we talked about, it's kind of like my approach to shadow work. And then finally is the self-care, because we do all of this really deep inner healing work. And it's kind of like, okay, I get it, right? Like I've moved through my stuff, but it's like, now what, right? Now we need to really get clear on how we take care of you. What does that actually look like? And again, everyone is so different. And yeah, I love helping my clients get really clear on what taking care of themselves is actually going to look like, so we can take all of the work we just did and actually make it like this beautiful thing that continues to carry on, right?
That honestly sounds incredible. Like really, really amazing. And I think so many of us, we even touched on it at the start. So many of us are so focused on how many calories do I need to eat? What exercise do I need to? How do I reduce calories? And it's like, I've even said I get messages often of like, is 15,000 steps a day when I used to be doing 25. And it's like, guys, chill. Like, the great thing about this is we have free will. You can do whatever the heck you like, and you can do whatever you want. And that's the beauty of it. But are you really going to heal unless you sorted out that? And I talk a lot about like the mindset approach, but you have just opened up a whole new thing of, I guess you've put into words what I've just been doing for the past year, of when I tried to say, when people say to me like, how did you heal that? And I was like, I spent, I don't know, 6 months in lockdown by myself. I was doing readings, I was meditating, I was doing the whole shebang. And I was having bad dreams, horrendous dreams, that sort of thing, to try to work through it. And I think actually, you've just summed up what I was doing, but also made me so aware of actually that even just talking those two examples that I said today, that I haven't worked through those. And I think it's just really highlighted actually I still got a lot more work to do as well. So
Oh, yeah, we all do. There's even things that, you know, happen in my like day-to-day life. And I'm like, why did that make me feel this way? Right. But like, what's cool now is it never has to do with like food or exercise or my body. Right. But it's more like someone says something and I just kind of feel like, and then it's like, oh, wait, why did I feel like that? And everything is an opportunity to go deeper. That's what I truly believe.
yeah, and I was literally just about to say about actually this has made me so excited because I think I've come so far and I genuinely feel very comfortable with who I am and I love my life. But how exciting is it that I can go deeper to deal with more shit, and then that's going to just make me like level up, if you like. So I really
Yeah.
feel like this whole episode is going to help so many people, and I really hope, and I hope you've got space for them all, but people really do reach out to you because I think this work, I truly believe in this work, and I just think what you do is incredible. So where can people find you, Meg? Where can people get on those discovery calls and book in with you?
Oh, sweetheart, you are just the absolute best. I loved sitting down, and there's truly nothing more like special than sitting down with someone that really understands what you're doing, right? Because as you mentioned a couple times during this episode, not a lot of people are open to this type of work, but absolutely, if anyone who is listening right now is open to going deeper. So I love how you said that, going deeper so you can get higher, essentially, right? Or just go deeper so you can just be yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I want, right? And just be so content with being you. So you don't have to be reaching out to someone to get their approval about your step count, for an example, right? I just want everyone to feel so okay with who they are. So yeah, definitely, if anything that I shared today resonated with anyone, my personal email is hello@megdoll.com. My website is megdoll.com. There's like contact forms there. I have a coaching program where you can like directly schedule a discovery call with me, and that is just called Back Home to You. So it's megdoll.com/back home to you.
Oh, that is amazing. Thank you so much, guys. I really hope you loved this episode as much as I did. But I'm going to have to leave it there because I need to keep Meg on for another 5 minutes so I can book in my discovery call. Thanks so much, Meg.
Thank you.